Welcome to the North Bank podcast, where we talk all things Arsenal. I'm Holly, your host, and today, as ever, I'm joined by Chris and Steph. You all right, gentlemen?
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. So it's been a while, it's been a few weeks. What you guys been up to over the summer? Anything exciting? Non-Arsenal based?
Well, you know me, in the summer, it's all about the farming. Lots of weeding, lots of animal care, really. Just getting outside, seeing the sunshine.
It would only be fair at this point to just tell everyone what you do and how this double life that you lead.
Well,
Steph.
I'm a teacher by day, but then, in the summer I get my 6 weeks to tend the small holding that we have over here in Norfolk, in sunny Norfolk, which has not been that sunny.
Living the good life.
Very, very wet. Living the good life.
Excellent. What about you, Chris? What have you been up to?
I've been making podcasts and I've been doing some voices for some video games and a Netflix series. Ooh. So that's me doing. I mean, I am just for anyone who doesn't
great.
know. I giving it large here, but no, my day job is making podcasts and doing voice work. So, and the most recent game was one where I was. See, in my day, in the 90s, when I was playing video games, it was one noise for being punched and one noise to deliver the punch, and that was it. Doof, 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 yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And that was it. Whereas now, it's the director's there and he says to you, okay, so now you're being garroted, and now it's slightly tighter, and you spend half an hour doing death noises and then giving it out as well. And so you're now stabbing someone, and now a little bit harder. So it's quite involved, as you can imagine. Anyone who's a gamer will know what I'm talking about.
Well, I wish I'd said what I did before you said that.
Why?
Because I'm just a teacher as well.
Just?
Yes. Okay, so we've had a bit of a break from football. I know that I certainly needed it after last season's kind of high-octane, high-energy excitement throughout, and the slight anticlimax at the end, of course. But, all things considered, it was a fantastic season. So we've had a bit of breathing space. Arsenal have been pretty active in the transfer market to begin with. So I'm just curious, what if I was to kind of force you to come up with a word or a phrase to best sum up your mood right now in terms of your mindset in relation to Arsenal? What would that word or phrase be? I've actually just said it. Curious. The word that sums up where I'm at now is curious. I'm curious to see how we start against Forest, how we set out against Forest. I'm curious to see what kind of treatment we get from the opposition. I'm curious to see what kind of atmosphere exists in the stadium after, we were very much the underdog last year and the atmosphere in the stadium was fantastic. Now there's expectation. So will the stadium be as patient? Will they be demanding instant success? I remember last season, any setback in the game, an own goal, Saliba's own goal, just within seconds, the stadium was right back at it. The chanting, the positivity was right there again. I'm curious to see, will that still be the case? I hope so. I'm curious to see how the new signings bed in. I'm just curious to see how. I'm curious to see what kind of team Chelsea put out. I have no idea. I'm curious to see what the opposition are going to do. City are losing a few players and they've lost a couple of coaches there as well. I'm curious to see how they react to winning the treble last season. I'm curious about Manchester United, all things Man United. I'm curious about what's going on up the road at the Toilet Bowl. I'm just curious about a lot of... that word... I'm just curious. That sums up where I'm at right now as we speak. What about you guys? Chris, what do you reckon?
You prepared that, didn't you?
No, off the cuff that was.
Well, I'd echo that, and I'd also say satisfied would be my kind of immediate feeling at this moment, given the transfer action that we've concluded already, and very satisfied with that, satisfied with the look of, all right, we're going to come on to what we need, how we need to reshape the squad slightly, but overall satisfied and very much looking forward to next week.
Cool.
That's it. A short and sweet version.
So we've got curious and satisfied. Steph?
I'm well up for it. You sound so negative.
Who does?
I haven't enjoyed going to the football since I had my season ticket, and it's the atmosphere, it's the young team, it's the coach, and if anything, it's been cemented over the summer by the fact we've got our business done so early. We set out our target and we went and got it. I can't remember when we've done that so soon, and I'm just buzzing for it. Look, at the same time, I get that there are caveats to that. My big thing is how we deal with a European competition where we will have to go strongest team from the get-go to secure, progression. Not to put the Europa League down or anything like that, but there was an element of you could heavily rotate in the group stages and kind of get away with it because the level of competition. And that's our own fault. We deserve to be there. Whereas the Champions League shouldn't have that much of a hiding place. I think we've ended up in pot 2. So, in a sense, we'll be second favourites for the group, whatever happens. But there will be some tough teams out there. And managing that, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday, which is why we've had to, try and build the squad the way we have. And if I'm curious about anything, it's how Arteta uses those other players. It's Trossard, it's Reece Nelson, it's the players that need to be, called upon perhaps more than they have done, particularly in Nelson's case.
I think that's a really important point because that's one area that Arteta maybe needs to improve in, and that's using his squad. I think, because you're absolutely right, and I should have added that as well. I'm curious to see how we manage the Champions League. Is it's 6, 7, 8 years? Is it however long it is? Since
however long Granit Xhaka was at the club.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, you've mentioned a squad there, so that's a nice little segue into. Let's look at the squad. Let's look at the squad in a little bit more depth. I've lifted off the website a breakdown of all the players we've got listed, and there's quite a number of them. If we break it down position by position and talk through what we think might happen to certain players, and obviously there's a little bit of an additional conversation to have about the goalkeepers. So we'll start with the goalkeepers. So on the books, we've got 5 current first team squad goalkeepers: Aaron Ramsdale, Alex Runarsson, Matt Turner, Karl Hein, and Arthur Okonkwo. I've read recently that Runarsson and Okonkwo are going to be sold. That's what the club are looking to do. They're looking to loan out Karl Hein, and Matt Turner was going to be the second to the very obvious number 1 in Aaron Ramsdale. But then old David Ornstein dropped an Ornstein bomb on us a couple of days ago and introduced the Brentford goalkeeper, David Raya, who is absolutely not a number 2 goalkeeper. That dropped with the news that Matt Turner is probably going to find his way to Nottingham Forest, as they've been priced out by Man United for Henderson. What do you guys think about that, or the goalkeeping situation? Aaron Ramsdale, up until 3 days ago, was nailed on for first team, first choice goalkeeper.
I'm a bit surprised because I always thought that Turner might be the one to move on because he wants to cement his place as number 1 for the Americans. But that's not for the World Cup until 2026, I think. So he might be happy to be number 2. Raya's surely too good to be a number 2, isn't he? And we're talking 40 million, and I
think it'll be less than that, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, and also, the price of footballers just seems meaningless nowadays.
But there's history there, isn't there? We were after him before Ramsdale, and apparently the goalkeeping coach at Arsenal knows him really well, and this is coming from him.
Yeah,
because a lot of people say you need competition in every position. To a point,
keepers are different.
The goalkeeper does seem to be the one that's always the drop off, doesn't it? I couldn't name you who Manuel Neuer's number 2 was at Bayern when he was in
because the
his
chances of getting off the bench are so negligible.
Yeah, unless you are literally play him in as a European keeper or a cup keeper, but even then it's so few and far between.
Although it is Champions League, so there is a bit of a carrot there. But he said he wants to come to us over Bayern Munich. So you can only imagine that Arteta has given some guarantee there, because you wouldn't come to a club where you were definitely number 2, would you? He's 27. He's older than Ramsdale. You know, but he's still very young for a goalkeeper. Just on that, can I just say that the goalkeeper has retired? Was it Buffon? Aged 45, he's announced his retirement from football. 45. No. Make me feel old. Jeez. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Complete tangent.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, yeah. Breaking news.
But you're right, and that the keeper is a strange position in that number 2s are often, you know, you find someone who's happy to sit on the bench basically, because it is a kind of a tough one for someone as established as David Raya. I just cannot imagine it, unless, like you said, Arteta's had a word in his ear, and you know how persuasive he can be, and told him that there is no fixed 11. We're going to be, you know, it's a meritocracy and yada yada. I don't know. It's curious.
Yeah, two first.
There's the word curious again.
Yes, two first choice goalkeepers doesn't work for me. I think it's an odd one.
Well, when has it worked?
Well,
I'm literally trying to think of one.
Recent PL history.
Who's Man City's second choice goalkeeper? Who's
Stefan Ortega?
Right. So I know Liverpool's because he's Irish.
Kelleher.
Man United's second choice goalkeeper after De Gea was Heaton.
Butland was there for a bit as well.
So I mean, I'm not even sure.
And they had
Chelsea did have Azpilicueta and Kepa, thank you. and is it Mendy?
Mendy.
Yeah, but they're after a goalkeeper as well.
Some would argue that they had 2 number 2 keepers.
Yes, very good. Very good. I've just done a quick tally. We've got 30 outfield players, first team players listed, and I know Arteta's gone on record as saying that he wants 22 outfield players. So we've had a little chat about the goalkeepers. Ramsdale is the only one that's guaranteed to be there at the start. Well, come the 1st of September. Karl Hein, I think they rate highly, so they're looking for a loan for him, and they're prepared to sell the other 2. And then Matt Turner, depends on what happens with David Raya, I guess. But moving on to the outfield players then. So we need to trim 8 from the 30 listed outfield players. So the defenders, just to give a quick rundown on the defenders, we've got Saliba, Tierney, Ben White, Gabriel, Timber, Kivior, Holding, Cedric, Tomiyasu, Tavares, Austin Trusty and Zinchenko. Well, straight away we can just say that Austin Trusty is gone, because I think it's a £5 million deal to Sheffield United has kind of just dropped this evening, which I think is a bit cheap. He got into the Championship Team of the Year, and I just think £5 million is half what we should be getting for him. And selling players and generating income through this player sales is quite crucial for us now after the initial outlay. So we can strike him off anyway. So go on, Steph, what do you think about the defenders then? Who, if you just run down their names and just say like sell or loan or what, question mark?
Well, I'm just going to go straight to the obvious, and Cedric Suarez is probably going to see out his contract because it's so lucrative, and getting a fee for him wouldn't be great, but he is probably surplus to requirements. Nuno Tavares, unless there's been a massive shift in the relationship between him and Arteta, I can't see him really coming back in. And then the other one is probably Rob Holding. Now, he's loved at the club, been a great servant, but, there is a drop-off. And now with hopefully Tomiyasu back fitter, this Timber that's been added, and, Saliba hopefully back fighting fit, he shouldn't need to be called upon as much. So those are the three.
It's likely he might not get a minute.
Well, exactly.
So,
as much as I will miss his hair.
Yeah, I noticed you passed over Tierney.
He's staying.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Just I would say if there's a huge offer for Tierney, what do we do?
He's staying. My friend,
You heard it here first.
my friend was on holiday. He was in Spain, and at the airport, he saw
Well, of
Kieran
course he's
Tierney
gonna say that.
at the airport, and he asked him if he was staying, and Kieran Tierney said, "Yes, mate, I'm staying."
Was he there with?
That's uncanny. That voice was uncanny.
Was he there with his friend?
Friend, his
I
Tesco
might
bag.
have to.
Yeah.
I might just have to clip that impression of Tierney up and stick it at the top of the show.
Stand by it. No, look, I get it, but I just who's the cover for Zinchenko then? Because you got Timber and White on one side.
Well, Timber can play left back, and so can
Yeah.
Kivior. They've been trying Kivior, haven't they? It's and Tomiyasu. So actually, there's
Yeah.
quite a lot of cover for him. But he is unique in the type of player he is. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to fit in with what Arteta wants from a left back. Zinchenko's injured at the moment as well, so there is a strong argument to keep him.
Yeah, worryingly so. I'm a bit worried about old Zinny because he's
Well, he never had
fundamental to the way we play.
at City. He never had, the demand of a full season of games placed upon him. So his body is kind of unused to that. But I think Timber plays the right back in the same way that Zinchenko plays the left back role. So I think deliberately, if Zinchenko's out, we still can operate that way just from the other side, and it kind of it creates that doubt in the opposition as to how we might play, set our team out as well. You mentioned Cedric, Steph. I just think what Edu might end up doing is, you get your golden carriage clock out again and pay off his contract to get his wage off the books, like they did with quite a few players. Yeah. So I think that's him. I think Pepe is the other one, although I know he's we haven't got to him yet. But so yeah, I agree. So out of the 12 defenders listed, Trusty, Tavares and Cedric, those three should go. Those three should not be here. Like you, I love Rob Holding and I'd love him to stay, but I think for his own professional integrity and game time himself, I think, but not what was it, 2.5 million? Was it Besiktas offered or Galatasaray? Who was
Galatasaray, was it? Yeah, but it's
It's definitely
not worth
Turkey
selling him
because all the jokes are going around about hair transplants.
He made friends when he was out there. Okay, I've put question marks alongside Holding and Tierney as well, and I would love both of them to stay for different reasons. Tierney because of, I think, the what he can give us on the football pitch. Holding because he's got great hair.
They call him the glue. That's his nickname.
He's
the glue.
Yeah.
Holds in everything together. And so much about modern football, because players are fitter than they've ever been, tactically more aware than they've ever been. So it's about culture. It's about building positivity. This Klopp and Pep are the masters of it, and so it's all about building that. And
Arteta's getting there as well. And I keep banging on about soft factors, but they are so important now. That's what gives you the edge very often.
And Xhaka going, I think, puts even more of an onus on Holding's personality behind the scenes. I think that, absolutely. Okay, so 3 definites go, and then that's three down, 5 to go. Quick bit of maths there. Right, your midfielders listed on the website: Thomas Partey, Ødegaard, Emil Smith Rowe, Jorginho, Fabio Vieira, Lokonga, El Neni, Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. I've only written loan alongside Lokonga. That's it. Because I think that's more likely to Burnley. I would like to get a fee for him. I'd like to sell him, but get like 12, 15 million pound in for him. But it looks like a loan is what's on the cards. But
and it's difficult to get good money for players, and there's a lot of chat in the Arsenal sphere about, we're always selling too low, but we have to respect the fact that these guys aren't playing very much. Their market value's diving. People aren't there isn't a market for them. That's why they're going out on loan, and hopefully if they do well on loan, then their value bumps up a bit. Then we might get some cash, and it's not the ideal solution, but
he has got 2 years left. After this season, he will still have 2 years left. So do really well at Burnley in the Premier League, and we could get a decent fee for him in this next summer. I don't think he's an Arsenal player for the future, so I think that ship has sailed for him. But anyone else there, El Neni?
A bit like Holding, he's another glue player. He's got another year. I'm pretty sure we've spoken about together about the fact he's doing his coaching badges, and he's very much a club man. So I don't necessarily. And actually, when he has been called upon, he does all right. He does all right.
He's a solid 7 out of 10, isn't he? And I think that extension of his contract was just a kind of nice gesture from the club. He was injured. They just extended him, give him some security. He's part of the furniture. I think
and he did say before that, he's just show me where to sign. There was no shades about trying to get a better deal or longer deal. No. You put it in front of me, I'll sign it.
He's happy.
Okay, so we've lost one there. So we need to lose 4 from the forwards now. But that's interesting because I've written 4 things alongside 4 of the players. So the forwards we think Thomas Partey will stay. Sorry, just on the midfield, we think he'll go. That the kind of rumours about was it Juventus and Saudi clubs. They seem to have died away.
Juventus have got no money and have been kicked out of Europe because of their financial
yes,
whereas Saudi Arabia have all the money. So could still be a factor. And I read an article today with Klopp saying that it's unfortunate that the Saudi transfer window goes past the end of the British transfer window. So they're going to be involved right up until the end. It's not like they're going to fall away before or after. Well, not before anyway. So they're always just going to be, lurking in the background.
Okay, well, maybe watch this space the party. But if he goes, we need to bring somebody else in.
Definitely.
That's a guarantee. So the forwards listed are Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, Eddie, Pepe, Trossard, Reece Nelson, Balogun, and Marquinhos. So just quickly, I've put down Pepe sell. He's the only one I've definite hard sell. But like Cedric, he might be one we have to take a hit on and cancel his contracts and pay him off a little bit just to get his wages, which will be quite huge, I would imagine. Apparently, he's not even come back to London to train with the team yet. Even though he should have. So he's definitely out of the
inverted
club.
Commas injured.
Is he? I don't know.
That was the reason given as to why he didn't travel on the tour.
Right. Marquinhos, another loan deal. I don't think we'll sell him. I think he did okay at Norwich. I don't know. Stefan, it's your neck of the woods.
It is my neck of the woods. Yeah.
Anyone talking about him?
He did okay in a Norwich team that themselves were only really okay. So there were fleeting opportunities for him to do a lot, but couple of goals, couple of assists in his records. Not much more you can really do.
Another championship loan, perhaps.
I wouldn't mind seeing him a low Prem loan. Send him to Sheffield United, maybe Luton. Just to feel that pace of the Premier League. Yeah,
well, that'd be great. Absolutely. And then my 2 question marks are over Eddie and Balogun, because the rumours are that one will go. Palace have earmarked Eddie Nketiah, apparently. West Ham have, I was reading this evening, the guy who broke all the news about the Declan Rice transfer, I think is it Jacob Steinberg or something, on Twitter, Big West Ham. He's written Mark Noble's biography and so on. He said, watch this space for West Ham and Balogun. So that'd be quite interesting. I know that we've valued Balogun at 50 million, and he's apparently feeling that we're pricing him out of a move to one of the Italian clubs. I think that 50 million's, if we got 45 million for him, I'd be delighted. I think that's fair. Or do we want him to stay and Eddie go? We know what Eddie's like. I love Eddie. I want Eddie to stay, but so what are we thinking about the forwards then?
I think the crucial thing there, just to touch on Eddie and Balogun, is that one is clearly agitating for a move and the other would probably be happy to stay, as he knows he'll get some game time, Eddie, of course. But Balogun is clearly, it would create unrest if he stayed. So I think he probably has to go. And I'm not sure about the market value. Personally, I think someone who isn't Premier League experienced, there will be a ceiling to that price, and that's probably what the leverage other PL clubs will have if they are bidding for him, is they'll say, well, he's scored league, he's a bit of a flat track bully in the Ligue 1 as opposed to the
for a mid-table team though.
But it's still Ligue 1.
What about the Højlund, the Atalanta player that may not have just dropped 70 million on for 9 goals?
But that plays into the thing about, Atalanta.
Well, that's Man U, isn't it?
Atalanta are selling to Man U. Atalanta know Man United have got the money. We're going to be selling to Crystal Palace or West Ham. Now, West Ham's an interesting one because
we know they've got the money. They've got our money.
they've got our money.
The only club not to have purchased a player yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That will help satiate those always calm and considered and rational West Ham fans after they've just sold their talismanic leader to, us in North London. So that'll go down well if they buy no one. But rumours are so Inter were interested in Balogun.
Yeah.
But again, price tag. Pricing them out a bit. Inter don't have that kind of money, so therefore they've turned their attention to Scamacca at West Ham. So again, if West Ham lose another player, then it's maybe more on the cards. But the value is what I think. More likely, we spoke about vibe and culture. If Balogun doesn't want to be there, he doesn't want to be there.
He's gone.
And he's got to go.
It's untenable now. I think it's got to the point where
it's because he won't countenance another loan move. I think we'd love to loan him out for another season, but he doesn't. He's not interested in that. I don't know why he's not interested in that, because he'd be a first choice for wherever he went. So I don't know. He's just signed a long contract, hasn't he? So
it's always tricky, isn't it? Because we talk about them as like their trading cards, but he's now a man, and he's probably wanting to sort of cement things, roots and family as well as his footballing career. So he's just signed up to play for the US over England. So he's made that choice. He's probably just looking to get his life in order a little bit as well. But at the same time, Arsenal will want to squeeze whatever that value they can out of him.
Yeah.
So we're saying that Balogun is the one that will go, and it will be a sale. But if the market's not there, how much are we going to get for him? 20 million, 25 million?
That is for me. That's the kind of copy and paste of quite a few of our players, because people know we want to offload them. It's not like they're coming in for any of our top dogs. We're trying to offload players who are clearly on the periphery, and that in itself will dampen their value. And I'd love to be wrong. I'd love for us to get 50 million for Balogun, but I just don't see it.
Well, we've gone through the squad and we've identified maybe 6 or 7 players that will definitely be looking to shift before the transfer window closes. It still leaves us with a slightly bloated squad of 23, 24 outfield players. But is there any... We've talked about David Raya, the goalkeeper, which came out of left field. We didn't anticipate that coming at all. Is there anywhere else in the squad, looking ahead to the season, that where you think we need to improve or add numbers to?
I don't know about numbers, but I just worry. I don't worry, but I'm curious. I'm going to use that word again. I'm interested to know just how midfield will work, because I'm not sure Rice is the direct, comparative player to Thomas Partey. So we could be in a situation again where Partey's fitness doesn't last out the whole season, and then Rice might be asked to adapt to a slightly different position, which then could leave us short elsewhere in midfield. I'm just interested to see. Now, it might all work out. Rice, Partey, Havertz, Odegaard,
I think
they might all interchange perfectly. But I just don't know.
He sees Rice as that has been good enough to shield the back, sit in front of the back two. There's two centre backs. And I think that's where the inverted fullback comes in to help him out. So Zinchenko and Timber maybe from the other side. Although in pre-season, which I don't pay any attention to, obviously I'm going to discredit that statement now straight away by saying that against Man United, where Rice did play, our midfield was described as muddled by several people. Against Barcelona, where Rice did not play, Partey played. We were very, very good. I didn't watch either game. I'm just going on what other people have said. I haven't seen any of the goals even. I'm just going on what other people have said. So you can't judge Rice on a pre-season game against Manchester United. That's utterly ridiculous. But I know Arteta does see him as being good enough to play that role on his own, allowing ahead of him your two eights, your Ødegaard and your Kai Havertz, if you like.
Isn't it strange how we've just accepted Havertz will be in that position?
That's where he's played in pre-season.
But it's just so weird, only.
But it made sense to me as soon as he said that, because when his name was first linked with us, you automatically assumed as a number 9, and I'm like, no. He will become a lightning rod for the team because he won't be clinical enough. He'll miss chances, and because he's come from Chelsea and so on. But then someone said, well, what about a replacement for Xhaka? And I thought, that makes sense. There's not as much pressure on him to score. He scored 2 goals in pre-season, so he's done really well. And he's adjusting to a new position, so he'll be afforded patience, I think. And apparently he does work really hard in terms of pressing and so on, so that's really good. And it will take a while for the relationships to develop on the pitch, I guess. So yeah, it just because it made sense to me. It's because I was so desperate for him not to play as a striker. I just talking about what we need, what I think we need. I'd love an alternative number 9 option. I've said that for quite a while, and you guys know who I think we should. But unfortunately, he's unavailable for selection until he's allowed to train with the Brentford first team squad from like mid-September. So anyway, January transfer, I think. But hey ho, I'll start banging that drum. The only other rumour I've heard is the Ajax attacking midfielder, right winger, Kudus, Kudus. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name, but Kudus. And Saka doesn't have a direct replacement.
Nelson.
No. Yes, Reece Nelson, that's it. And if you get Kudus, then what does that message does that send to Reece Nelson, who did really well every time he came on last season and has produced the moments of the Emirates era?
Ooh, bold statement.
Oh, come on. Right, go on. Tell me what's better than Arshavin?
2-1 Barcelona.
Arshavin.
Yeah.
That, in that single moment, Arshavin.
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. All right.
I have to agree. I think that it probably was for me as well in pure drama terms of. I mean, I'm gauging it on my reaction because I was at the Barca game and hands down.
So
Chris, you're going for the Barca game?
No, I'm going
okay.
for the
last
minute.
It was. I can't remember a moment where I didn't know what to do.
Lost it
completely,
totally.
just like completely, like. Yeah. And it's that snapshot of the players and that kind of still image. People collapsed and on the pitch, and it's like that kid that turned up in Arteta's arms.
Random.
How on earth? It's like that was. To be fair, and I know we argue about this, but it is tempered somewhat by the fact we did not win the league. For me, because if we had won the league, that would probably be up there with my all-time favourite Arsenal moments. And that's,
but it still can be.
Because like Overmars goal in the 90 whatever it was 8 FA Cup final against Newcastle. It was a goal that kind of officially won us the FA Cup. It was my first time watching Arsenal at Wembley because I'd been exiled in Ireland prior to that, and it was that moment. Will Todd's goal at Old Trafford. These are goals that won us something. Ramsey's goal in the FA Cup final against
Chelsea.
No, not that one.
Hull.
Wolves. Hull. Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
But as we've talked about this before, but that moment that we all enjoyed cannot be taken away from us. And I understand what you're saying, but you do have to enjoy the journey.
yeah. But even at the time, like.
You did well. You weren't sitting there at the time thinking
I wasn't sitting
anywhere.
I wasn't sitting anywhere.
You were behind the sofa.
No, I was there. I was like, I don't know what I was doing. I was probably in tears, but part of the emotion of that moment was like, this could happen. This could be it. Like, can you imagine if we win the league by a point? Or 2 points, and this is the moment that everybody will forever go on about. That moment, I hate United, but that moment where they beat Sheffield Wednesday at Old Trafford in injury time, and Ferguson and Brian Kidd on the pitch on their knees. Well, that moment is etched in their history because they won the league. As much as anything for that moment, it's like that. Anyway, we will argue about this, I'm sure, again.
It's a nice thing to discuss.
It is, isn't it? It is,
nice problem to have.
So, what about Chris? Any extra players? Any additions to the squad as it is now for you?
I think we're in good shape as we are, and I want to see how this lot gels and comes together as a team. And I think the thing that I probably should have said earlier as well is about our mindset now going into the season, about looking at our first 11 and saying what your best 11 is something we could do with our eyes closed last year. We knew what our best 11 was. And I think we're going to have to get used to the idea that there won't be a standard 11 and that there will be changes, and that we should embrace that and not feel like, oh, no, we should have played Martinelli instead of Trossard. There's very little drop-off now in so many positions that we've got to enjoy that and go with it and not throw our toys out the pram if a result doesn't go our way and blame the fact that Arteta's rotated a bit, because it's not the same. It's not backups anymore. It's quality players in most positions.
It's important the players accept that as well.
Well, I think they have to have bought into that. They have to know that they're not going to play every game, and they probably welcome it. If they know they're in a upcoming team, there's a great energy behind us as a club. I think the buy-in is there. I think, okay, if they don't get any game time, they'll be pissed off, but I can't see that happening. I think they're all of a level that they're all going to get game time, and I just hope we don't lose our rag when our best 11 isn't out there. You know?
Okay, that's a lovely little segue for me there as well. Go on then, Chris. Pick your starting 11, everyone fit for the first game of the season, Forest at home.
Well, I'll tell you, for starters, I'm not going to put Rice in there because I don't think he'll be fit. If he doesn't play...
No, everyone's fit.
Everyone... Oh, so this is a hypothetical best 11.
Yeah. Your starting 11, everyone fit. So we know Zinchenko's not fit, so he probably won't play unless he plays tomorrow night against Monaco, and the weekend against Man City, perhaps. But let's assume, for argument's sake, everyone is fit, everyone's available. Who is your starting 11 at home to Forest, 12:30 Saturday, whatever date in August that is?
I think it's probably going to be close to what Arteta himself would choose, because I think it will be relatively conservative, playing into the kind of tried and tested. So it's going to be Tierney left back, our usual centre halves, Ben White at right back, obviously Ramsdale in the sticks, and then Partey anchoring midfield. We're going to see Havertz in the left 8, and then we're going to see Odegaard on the other side, and then the front three. It's going to be actually. There's my one change. I think Trossard might start ahead of Martinelli, and then we'll have Jesus and Saka. So that's my starting 11.
Go on then, Steph.
Well, Chris, that felt very, actually based on who's fit and available now, rather than if everyone was 100% ready to go. So if everyone's 100% ready to go, the only real change I'm making on last year is I'm putting Rice in Xhaka's position and sort of pressing from the front, whereas the back four's the same, Partey, Odegaard, front three, Martinelli.
But you play Zinchenko at left back.
And Zinchenko at left back, yeah. But like you say, there are a few niggles there, so Tierney is likely to play left back. Whether Rice is ready or not.
I'm not sure he will, because he hasn't started any of the pre-season games, has he, Tierney? He's played in all of them. He started with Tomiyasu and Timber and Kivior at left back so far. Okay. I'm not sure he will start with Tierney at left back.
Oh, I put Tierney in ahead of Zinni, did I? That's because I've just accepted that Zinni was injured. But no, okay, obviously, Zinni plays. But that's interesting. The Rice thing for me is Partey as your 6 and Rice ahead of him feels like a kind of away game formation for me. Sure. A more secure Forest at home. I think we can afford to go a bit more offensive with our midfield.
I'd say he'll want to get Rice up to speed as quickly as possible in that number 6 role. So I think he'll play him if he's fit. He didn't play against Barcelona, so I don't know what his level of fitness is. I know he's a couple of weeks behind others in terms of pre-season. So I would imagine he'd play him from the start, I think.
Would you both put Trossard in it?
Listen, if pre-season's anything to go by... If pre-season's anything to go by, then yes. I think Trossard, he's been on fire. He's been electric. He's drawing comparisons with Santi Cazorla and Arshavin. I've seen people say like he's quite explosive player at the moment, it seems. And you play players on form. I think starting with him will fire Martinelli up. And he responds really well to that, I think. I think that's, And I think Saka, Erdegaard and Jesus will all start for sure. And Gabriel and Saliba as centre-backs. Interesting one will be right-back. If Zinchenko's not playing, I think he'll play Timber at right-back, which will allow him to play that inverted full-back. It's interesting because there is, as you said, Chris, I think there's very little drop-off in... a lot of positions now.
But it might mean we have to be a bit more flexible in how we set out and who's in what position a little bit, maybe, at times. Which, again, we've got to get used to, and so have they.
Well, they just have to gel as well, these new players. We can't assume they're just going to hit the ground running. There has to be an adaptation period to the Premier League.
So,
Steph, you think Havertz will be on the bench?
I don't think he will. I think he'll play against Forest. But, all things being equal, Rice is in as my number 8.
Okay. Well, we'll see, because you'd imagine that the team he selects against Man City will be as close to the team he'll play against Forest as possible, just to facilitate that cohesion and that, building those relationships and so on. So that'll be interesting. The Monaco game. Oh, we should mention the fact that Wenger is having his statue unveiled. The Wenger Derby, they've called it, haven't they? Outside the stadium. I've not seen it yet. I look forward to seeing that edition. Who should be next up for the statue?
Ian Wright.
Yeah. There's that great picture of Wright and Rocastle together. Someone said put that forward as a really good, one to have. Kind of ticks a lot of boxes, and I think kind of can't imagine a more popular statue going up. I mean, Ian Wright would be crying for weeks. At that.
I think I would too.
Okay, so let's just kind of bring this one to a close with. I just want to know, what does success look like for you guys this season? What would be deemed progress / success? I'll let you choose the words. Go on then, Chris. You've inhaled. Sharp intake of breath.
Yeah. Because so much of it is dependent on... Look, what I don't want to see is us drop off again at the end of the season because of form injuries, in the way that we have in the last 2, which he said, touch wood, we're a lot stronger now. We shouldn't be seeing that. For me, I don't want to say we've got to win some silverware. That for me would, obviously I want that. But I think if we finish second to City again, it's not going to be by any means a disaster. Any lower down, I'll probably be feeling disappointed. But I think second for me against a City side is there's no shame in that. It just depends how it comes about. That's, that would be it.
I mean, finishing third kind of draws the same level of reward.
In what way?
Well, it's finishing second. So would you say finishing third, your qualification for Champions League, really? So you'd say third would be a bit of a step back, or?
Yeah, it would feel like that, wouldn't it? Absolutely. You'd want to be second and pushing harder and not collapsing in the last few games.
That gives the lie. That kind of points to what I was saying about expectation from the fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
If it looks like early on in the season that we're going to struggle to get to challenge Man City, that could be interesting.
And beyond that, I guess the pots, Champions League, I'd be happy to get beyond the quarters would be fantastic, I think.
It would.
Well, yeah, but I think we're good enough. I really do. I think there's potential there. I think we're in a good place for that. So let's fingers crossed on
win an
that.
FA Cup, League Cup win and second place.
It's sad, isn't it, that those trophies now become, well, the League Cup always has been, but the FA Cup has become also a bit of a kind of papering over the cracks trophy in a way, and that it's kind of wheeled out as well. We won the FA Cup, but it didn't seem to really satisfy us. We kind of knew that we were in a bad place.
Every FA Cup win satisfied me. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's provided so much respite and joy and pleasure. The FA Cup. It's our cup, isn't it? With a record.
It really, totally, we're the record holders. But I'm saying it's just been devalued by the success of the Premier League, and I love it too. But it's just, unfortunately, it's taken a bit of a backseat.
I'm curious to hear what Steph's got to say now.
I'm always Mr. Pessimistic. So if with my pessimistic hat on, I'm worried about how we manage that Champions League and league, duo, because the Champions League will be more intense than the Europa League was, and as you say, opposition teams will view us differently. Plus, we've got a few players to gel. I do. Look, I love Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice is an absolutely brilliant signing. I think he's a brilliant player, but he's not just going to hit the ground running. Man City spent 100 million on Jack Grealish, and he didn't hit the ground running. He took time to adapt to Pep's ideas, and I wonder what the loss of Xhaka will mean, because that consistency he provided. Yes, he was a Marmite figure at times, but he was consistent. And
last season he was.
And last season he was excellent.
One of the players of the season.
So yeah, I think it's one of those. Look, par for me is getting top four again and qualifying for the Champions League. But of course, like you, Chris, I want to see how we finish a season to be a thing to improve, and the squad building and the mindset is hopefully going to be what drives them on. Look at the players at the start of last season. They wanted to rectify the fact we'd missed out on top four because of the way the season finished. Well, we missed out on a title because of the way the season finished. So you hope that they use that as their motivation. But there's so many things to factor in, and money eventually talks. That's why we keep saying it's Man City's to lose, because they've got the might of Abu Dhabi behind them. So as long as we keep doing things in as fair a way as possible, and I'm not saying Arsenal are a perfect club, and, we'd like to take the moral high ground, on some things, but we can't on everything. We can just hope for tiny bits of improvement. Finish the season, a bit stronger than we did last season, and hopefully we'll be in the mix. What
I've heard there, Steph, is anything other than a league title win is disappointment.
Well, you might have read that, but that's not what I said.
Okay. Well, so we're looking forward to Man City Sunday. Steph, you're going to the Community Shield.
Charity Shield. Let's
Charity
call it the
Shield,
Charity Shield.
sorry.
The Community
Charity
Shield. I am
Shield.
going to the Community
Hang
Shield.
on, which one?
I can't do Forest on the opening day, but I'm going to go to the Community Shield because a friend of mine always said, never to pass up the chance to see Arsenal at Wembley. So I'm going to go have a sing-song and get back into the swing of things.
It's kind of a pressure-free game, isn't it? Really, it's.
Yes. Do you remember last year's Community Shield?
No.
It was Liverpool versus Man City, and it was billed.
Oh, it was Haaland against
Darwin
Núñez. Yeah.
Núñez versus Haaland. Núñez scored, and Liverpool won 2-1. Yeah.
So we want to lose.
Let's not read too much into.
If we win, it's
happen.
the most important trophy ever. If we lose, it's a meh.
It's a friendly. We all know it's a friendly.
It's
about
a friendly.
getting legs, up to speed. So let's just treat it as it is.
Well, what time's kickoff? Do you know?
4.
4. Okay, I will be on a boat bobbing along across the Irish Sea at exactly kickoff time. So cool. I'll be out of reception. I will have no clue what's going on, and probably happy not knowing the time. Yeah, okay. So, because Steph, you're the avid home and away supporter, aren't you? So
I should be at Palace second game, and then
you clock up the miles. You do.
Well, every game is an away game when you live in Norfolk, so it's out on a limb.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So we'll catch up again. Well, maybe before the Forest game, but we'll certainly do a post-Forest review. Where it'll be similarly upbeat and positive as this podcast has been, I'm sure, on the back of a 5-0 comfortable home win. You heard it here first. All right, gents, thanks very much for having a chat. Enjoy the rest of the week and your farming and your podding, and keep an eye on the Arsenal as well. Till next time, gents. Cheerio.
Cheers, mate.
Pleasure.
Yes, mate, I'm staying.